Well, Erin, it's nice to have you in supervision this semester.
Mm-hmm.
So we had our group supervision last week, and one of the conversations we had was about another one of our members' sexual identities, their client, or their sexual preferences and that sort of thing. And in the meeting, you said that you like to be referred to as mixture.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not familiar with the term, and I'm certainly not familiar with what that means for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to provide the best supervision I possibly can. And so I was wondering if you could help me to understand what that word means and share anything else that you think that would be important for me to know to be able to provide quality supervision for you.
Okay, well, I like to be referred to as mixture instead of like ma'am or sir because I identify as genderqueer. That's my gender identity, not sexual identity. Like sexual orientation is an entirely different thing than that.
Okay?
So that's an important thing to know.
Can you help me to understand all that from your perspective?
Okay, so I'm going to make some assumptions here. I'm going to assume that you identify as a man
Okay?
and that you identify as a straight man.
Okay?
Those are two separate words.
All right?
So let's say that you were a transgender man, you would still identify as straight if that was like your sexual orientation.
Okay?
But those two things are like picture a Venn diagram, those are in two entirely different circles.
Okay. And so how am I going to be able to provide the best supervision for you? What sort of things could come up in terms of sexuality, sexual identification, gender identification that would or would not hinder our supervision relationship?
Well, one of the things I have some trouble with is I know that you're a very formal person, you like to refer to people as ma'am and sir, and I don't really care for that at all, but
Okay.
like the reason I gave you the word mixture is because you seem to need to have something to say,
Okay?
and so that's fine.
Okay?
But like being, my gender identity, it's kind of like a mishmash of femaleness and maleness, so like calling me a young lady or something like that isn't entirely accurate.
Okay?
So I don't really care for that.
All right?
It's a lot of like words and things that don't quite apply.
Okay? So when I misspeak, how are you going to experience that?
Well, we like the people in the trans community call that misgendering,
Okay?
and it's kind of like a gross feeling in the pit of your stomach when somebody just refers to you in a way that's entirely off. Like if you were at the store and somebody called you ma'am, and you're clearly not a ma'am, how do you think that would make you feel?
I could be polite about it, and I would, I'm not going to hold on to it too long, but I wouldn't feel comfortable about it. And one of the things that, one of my own personal experiences that I'd like to share with you with that is, as I was growing up, my voice never really changed a great deal. And so as I got to be a teenager and I would answer the phone, the person on the other end, if it was a business call or something like that, they would say ma'am, that sort of thing. And so I have had the experience of being misidentified, and over the phone, not so much face to face, but over the phone that certainly has happened, and from time to time it still does happen. So I had that personal experience in my life of being misidentified, and it kind of just hits me in the face. I don't know if that's how you experience it or not, but that's how I often experience it.
Yeah, I think it's very frustrating, especially because like I know that I look like a girl. I know that. And because of the way that humans work, we don't really understand people being not in one of two boxes. So I understand that a lot of times people are going to call me ma'am and miss.
Right.
But the thing that's important for me with you is because you're a person that I'm going to have to talk to a lot because you're my supervisor. So that tells me that I need to tell you this early on so that you don't misgender me this entire semester, and so we both don't have a bad relationship.
Absolutely.
If it was like the checkout person at Walmart, I'm not going to correct that person because I'm probably never going to see them again.
Right.
But because you're a person who figures in an important place in my life, I have to tell you that so that we have a good supervisor-supervisee relationship.
So I'm also hearing you say that having this conversation and our first individual supervision session was a really good decision.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.